What's up, guys? Today I have my friend Angie Dollar on, Angie Maxfield. What do you go by? Both?
Uh, you know what? My real name is Dollar, but people don't think it's real, So I use Maxfield. I use Maxfield as like a pen name for my books because yeah, because Dollar doesn't seem like it's real. And I felt like Dollar would look distracting on my book, say like Angie Dollar. And it's like, well, what is this, a finance book? Or it's like, no, it's not. Just my name.
Well, I wanted to have Angie on to talk about the secret space programs, and it's not a topic I touch on too often. I briefly mentioned some memories that I had, and I know that recently I've had, there's people that comment, oh, everybody thinks they were in the programs now, like you're not allowed to talk about it. And then also a lot of people that are in sort of like the soul trap community don't believe in the programs at all. And, I go with what's true for me. And I tell you straight up, yes, they're real. If you think the government does all these things, but you don't think that the programs are real, I don't know what to say to you. This is a very strange place, with very nasty, evil people that run it. So, yeah, they're real. And I just never thought in a million years that I would ever think that someone that I was in any kind of part of this. But because my memories are so fragmented, um, and also it's just not something that I talk about a lot. But I know that my friend Angie here, who kind of falls into similar categories as I do. We were in Tony Sayers' group together, and I wanted to have her on to talk about, some interesting topics and, just bloodlines and how this whole thing got started with these programs. And give me one second. Give me one second. Sorry. Forgot to put my phone on do not disturb.
Oh, that's
Okay.
okay.
Okay. So anyway, um, so Angie, you were in the military, and you said that from the very beginning you were taken into um
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people who say they were in the programs weren't actually in the military here, on Earth, which is fine, but I started having memories coming to me of being taken the day I signed in with the military and being taken down a hallway and put into a container of liquid and just my body preserved and then them taking from my consciousness. And I do have a memory, like people will call it a 20 and back, where you go for about 20 years, plus or minus. Some people say you can't go over 20 years, whatever. Um, I don't agree with everything I hear. But I do have a memory of being taken as a child as well. And I fell in that typical group. A lot of people talk about how they were in the gifted and talented program or whatever. I remember being tested for it, not qualifying for gifted and talented, or some people call it talented and gifted. Um,
mhm.
but I do remember the test that day, and the test was very hypnotic. And since I do hypnosis, I know what it's like to try to hypnotize someone. And they had these containers of liquid they were pouring back and forth, and I can think of now how I think I could hypnotize someone doing that, pouring liquid back and forth slowly and just talking to someone. I mean, it was strange, it's a strange thing. Like, why were they pouring liquid back and forth of different colors while they're doing a test? It's supposed to
Yeah.
be a gifted
For
talent.
the record, Angie is a QHHT practitioner, and she is the best of the best for anyone who's interested. But I digress. So go ahead. Tell us a little bit more about your experiences.
Yeah, so I do. And, I usually don't listen to a lot of people talk about this kind of stuff because I've wanted it to come from me. But another thing I've heard people talk about is like church involvement, some of this stuff. Well, I was in a private Catholic school when I was taken. And actually, when I started at that school, it was third and fourth grade. I was having trouble in second grade learning how to read. So my parents took me out, put me in the private school to help me out. And I think I was there was an agenda of me going there. I'm not saying my
Mhm.
parents were involved, but there was some sort of an agenda to get me over there because those people were cold and it was weird. I still remember just mean. I'm not saying all nuns are mean, all religions are bad. I'm just like, those women were mean and it was weird. It was a
Yep,
weird place.
same.
So, yeah. My family wasn't Catholic, but they just put me, that was the private school you could go to, was a Catholic school. So, it took a while for these memories to come out, and they do, like you say, they did come out in fragments, and I was trying to put them together. I know Tony Rodriguez puts it kind of in a linear way, but I mean, for myself and a couple other people I've talked to, it's all over the place. There are fragments here and there, and like I'm trying to put it onto a timeline. And I mean, I had to finally try to put it together of different stories. And that's how my book is. It's like different stories. I don't know when or how or all of the details of some of it, but I also tried to put in stories that I wasn't hearing from other people when I do listen to other people. So, um, but there are some things that are similar to what other people are saying. I mean, I've seen myself fighting spider beans, and I've heard a couple other people talk about,
Yes.
you know, I,
Yep. Susan Long talked about, she actually died in one of the fights with the spider being.
yeah, I saw myself dying in that and them coming. There was like a group that came down to pick up our bodies, but
Mhm.
it was like their priorities where they're like, okay, first we're going to retrieve the consciousness from the clone bodies. And then if we have time, we'll retrieve the bodies. So they were like, we may have to get out of here quickly because if the spider beans or something else comes back,
Yeah.
collect all the consciousness first. I saw it being put in like a container and they're going back to the ship. And then they're like, okay, everything seems clear. We can go back and get the bodies. So I saw that kind of situation, which, like, how can you make that stuff up? I mean, it's like, I wouldn't be thinking, oh, let's get the consciousness out first in case we don't have time. It's,
Right.
yeah.
They
And
definitely do that.
yeah, and from hypnosis, like how could you just suddenly go into hypnosis and make all this up? You go into it and you're there and you're seeing and feeling like everything's suddenly going on around you.
Yes. Yes. Um, for me it was I didn't I had a memory of them taking me as a kid. Um, and I also had memories of being coming to me as a kid, but I'd like to stick to them taking me and my family not knowing. And so for the longest time I said, there's no way in hell that they were able to take me with a house full of people, because this wasn't just my parents, this was a shore house full of Italians. Like you're talking like four families in one tiny little house in Atlantic City, and nobody knew that something came and took me. But I soon realized when I listened to other people's stories that it's actually really common for them to be able to put your family in some kind of I don't know what stasis and take you and then put you back. It's actually a thing. So,
Well, I think a lot of people too, they get taken at night while they're sleeping and they
mhm.
bring you back within minutes or,
Yep.
yeah, because they'll take you for that 20 and back or whatever the time is and age regress you and just put you right back. And um, I've always felt like um, that I'm much older than I am. You know, I was always mature. And I mean, I remember being a teenager, not even necessarily mature. I mean, when I was a teenager, I was pretty wild and crazy, but like just feeling older, not fitting in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Same.
and then when I got to be in my 20s, it was really extreme, you know, because that would have been the second time I was taken after that. When I got to that point, I had already been taken again, gotten out of the military, and then I was going to college. And it was like, I just thought, man, I don't fit in with any of these people here, you know? Um, yeah, and then it just remained like that of feeling like I'm hundreds of years old when I'm just in my 20s. So.
Yep. So what do you think? What is your opinion on? Because I tend to think that the people that get pulled into these programs, I don't know if you've ever listened to Nathan Reynolds, but he was on uh, Tony Merkel's podcast, um, The Confessionals, and which is, they're Christian. I do watch, so I don't throw the baby out with the water. This guy is from a high level bloodline family on both sides. And so he was raised with trauma from the second he came out of the womb, or probably before, because he was right born into the. But he talks about these quarter lines and whatever, these watered down versions of like these ancient bloodlines, and they're the people that they take into the programs. They're the ones that, because I mean, let's face it, they do this to their own children, at the high from the highest level. So why wouldn't they do nasty stuff to us? And so um I was so odd, but I was in the kitchen cooking tonight, and I know that I think you watched the video that I did about the Tracy Twyman and how she got into all these rituals and how she started talking to Baphomet. And but she followed, like, she started with reading Holy Blood, Holy Grail, and went down that, and she always believed that the almost like it calls to you. You don't look for it, it comes and calls you. And it probably means that you have some of that blood in you. And I remember going down that same path, but not doing the ritual stuff. It's almost like I knew better, never getting deep into that, and just never thinking in a million years, though, that I had anything to do. But just I don't know how to explain it other than it was more of like a download or a knowing or something. But this is definitely much more recently, um, that I kind of just figured out that it's something to do with my great grandmother on my maternal side, whose name was Mary, um, is from this, like, it's a Levite bloodline. It's the Mary Magdalene bloodline. They were sort of like nomads. They weren't allowed to own property. Um, and then that just kind of branched off from there, and who, went with another bloodline. And then, but she was from Sardinia, and which was kind of like where a lot of the giants went after the flood. I get into very much talking about Nephilim bloodlines. But, again, even with that and with the programs, this is not something that I voluntarily wanted or am happy about or any of those things. This is just the only way I could describe it is it's just more of a sort of knowing. And I think that, whatever, which is why I got into Gary Rain's work too, whatever bloodline you come from, they nap you because you have the human side and you have the part that came in and invaded women who were human. And I believe that we were living this we didn't even know what the hell death was. I don't even think we had bodies, or certainly not these dense bodies. And we were invaded by these beings, and it just stemmed from there. But I think that these beings like to, they love the bloodline thing. They love, and so they kind of just continued, and that's, then you got like the military industrial complex, all, it's just, and it went from there. And I think they're the people that they pulled into the programs. Sorry, I was so long-winded with that one.
No, I think there is something about the bloodline, and maybe I should look at that more on myself. My dad my parents were old enough to be my grandparents. So my dad was in World War II. I think there's some military thing they like about my family. So my uncle was in World War II. My brother was in Vietnam. My siblings were all a lot older than me. My brother was old enough to be my parent, and my dad was really intelligent and he was psychic. And I think for me, maybe it's like the psychic side, maybe there's some sort of ET line that they like within me, because I feel like I've also have some hybrid children out there. I feel like I've also had that kind of stuff happen. And
I
talk
feel that
about,
as well.
yeah, I talk about that in both of my books. And I took my twin flame book, I took this section on hybrids and I just copied it and just put it in my book about this stuff, the secret space programs. But yeah, I think some of the German side, because we hear a lot of them being in Germany. I mean, even my name, you talked about dollar, it was changed from some German name. And I guess they thought, well, that's pretty close to dollar. We'll do dollar.
Okay.
Make it
It's my
simple.
grandfather fought in World War II. That's my dad's dad. And he had a little bit of German in him, but he was English. And his mother, her great uncle was some kind of big Civil War naval captain, and he was apparently a tyrant, like complete, like would make his men like walk the plank, like a horrible person. And Truxton, I think his name was. Yeah, I think it's Truxton, because that was her maiden name. So I think I do kind of have some shit going on both sides. Definitely the Italian side. Um, and then my grandmother would always say we were related to the kings of Sicily. And I used to laugh at her. But now I'm like wondering, maybe like she knew, she wasn't, because sometimes she would just talk in riddles, and we just used to be like poo poo her. And, but I think she actually was probably talking truth. So go ahead.
Yeah, they probably knew some stuff. I know when I tried to trace my lineage, I could trace some people back, or at least one person back, to having been in the Civil War. And I traced them back to coming over from Europe, some of them coming through the New York, and then there was some other port that they came into on the East Coast too. So yeah, I think there could have been things they didn't tell us that they knew.
So what do you think? I know that there's a gentleman named John Whitberg that spoke about how Eisenhower traded the people in the programs off for whether he had no choice or not, but they made some kind of an agreement where they people would be taken into programs, they would be abducted, experimented on, and there was an agreement made, and the contract was signed, so to speak. Uh, have you heard anything regarding
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I think that probably happened. I'm sorry, I switched it off a moment because my dog is being very active for some reason.
That's okay.
Usually she's very quiet during these things. I think that something was signed and agreed on, but I just get the feeling that maybe he felt like he couldn't turn it down, that otherwise they were just gonna blow us all up, you know?
Mhm.
That's just the feeling that I get from it because I haven't really looked at it closely. But I think from then on, and maybe even before then, because we talked about time travel, I think that that just locked in, maybe locked in all the presidents, and maybe they don't even all know about it. It could have been like, well, this is a secret thing, and we aren't even letting all the presidents know. But I have seen um, visions of some of these presidents traveling through time to have meetings together, you know. So even if you have someone who they're dead now, you know, that someone could, I mean, I'm seeing visions of some of them. I don't even know if I want to say their names.
Yeah,
I'm
and
seeing visions
didn't
that,
James even didn't James like say he saw Washington?
yeah, he might have. I don't know. I mean, a lot of James Rink, a lot of his stuff
Mhm. Yeah.
he gets from other people's visions and hypnosis.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, he might have. I mean, but I mean, I've seen people who are still alive, presidents who are still alive now, who are time travel back and talk to presidents who are dead. So, I mean, Eisenhower could have time traveled before he even signed and agreed with ETs and been time traveling back and forth with talking to previous presidents who had already passed on. And I think they probably would have told him, hey, you got to either agree with it or they're going to do a reset. They're going to blow you everything up. And
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to give him a pass. That's just the feeling I get is I'm feeling his anxiety around it of like, maybe I just have to agree to this, you know? So,
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean the stuff that I remember was just strange. Like I mean I talked about it already in other videos, so I don't really wanna, but um I was like my memories came to me in like dreams, like like vivid, but they were memories, but they somehow came out and I was like there again. And I remember well let me just backtrack. I had experience where I forget which one of the movies, back when I followed David Wilcock, and I do not anymore, although I will say he was definitely a victim, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't want to get into why I don't follow him anymore and what he's caught up in and how these people are still being controlled by their handlers and whatever, but he was speaking about being taken as a child. And I had listened to David Wilcock, met him in person numerous times, read his books, and when I met him, I felt like this, like I knew him, and but it still didn't trigger anything. But when he started talking about being taken as a child and the little bit that he remembered, um, in one of the films that he did with Corey Good, um, I just lost it. Like I had a full blown panic attack. And I kept testing myself and watching that scene over and over again. And every time I watched it, I took a panic attack. Had no idea what it meant at all. Just knew that I couldn't watch it. And then flash forward, 3 years later, I had someone approach me about me being in these programs, and I thought they were crazy and whatever, and I blew it off. But when I started having these memories of being like in a room being trained to go out on a mission, and then I did a session with you and stuff came out. And then um, I had the memory and I didn't realize that it was him at the time, but I had a memory in one of my dream memories, I call them, where I was like at Montauk and he was there and he's younger than me and I might have been like 13 or 14 and he's like 10 and I don't know, something like that, younger than me. And I didn't know that it was him. I just knew the chubby boy. And, he was like really sensitive and super like, and so they couldn't like control him, and they did something really nasty to him, and like then put him in a regen tank. And I remember that, and I knew it was coming because I had the memory in here somewhere, but I didn't realize that it was him even after I saw that happen. And I believe I was talking to you and telling you about this boy, this blonde, chubby boy, and what happened to him. Um, and then the light bulb came off, went off, and went. And I was just like, it's David. And that's why I was so freaked out when he was talking about being taken as a child, because somewhere in my subconscious, these memories were coming back. But anyway, I talked about it before. I don't want to keep repeating the same story, but it was a very strange thing. And that's why I say my memories are all over the place. I don't have like, I think like Tony got all his memories back, Tony Rodriguez. I think certain people, like, they know their whole story and all. And I don't know mine, which is why I don't talk about it too much. And also, I think that there's so much going on in the world, and everything that I found out, and a lot of this stuff that I talk about with these beings, um, makes me feel like, I think we need to get the hell out of here, and that's what's most important. But I also think that these gurus that are out there thinking, oh, I'm in the secret space program and only I can talk about this, and you know, oh, anybody else that came out after, these people had this big following, and if anybody else came out of the board, because like, oh my God, I got my memories back. This is why I wanted to have Susan on as well, because when I met her, she had no memory of any, she never talked about that. And she met someone, her trauma twin, that she was in the programs with, and all her memories came back at once. So yeah, like this stuff can happen.
Well, and why would there, and I know what you're talking about, how one or two people said, well, I was the only one in, I was the first one talking about this. I mean, I know one of the people you're talking about. I mean, I know the name of one of the people you're talking about. Why would they only take a few of us? Why would they only take a few of us when they can take hundreds or thousands or
Yeah.
whatever? I mean, why would
And
I,
also, don't those people say that they were with hundreds of people when they were in these?
well, see, and that's another thing that would make sense. I think the thing is, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. I don't have any reason to make it up. I'm not a millionaire off my books or anything. I just sell a few books. I could go talk about other stuff and it'd be easier to talk about, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm really not getting anything out of talking about this stuff besides putting it out there, and then hopefully it triggers some people and kind of brings back some memories so they can look at it and just let it the hell go. Because I think that's part of bringing this stuff down is us waking up to it, waking up to the controls on Earth. I just took a 5-day seminar with some popular group that's supposed to help you, move forward in life, whatever. And on day one or day two, it was, it's one of these popular groups. I don't want to say their name because I'm about to criticize them big time. The one thing that, and a good friend of mine who's highly spiritual and she's a shaman, she recommended it to me. So I trusted her and did it. And there was some good stuff in it. But on day one or day two, I asked the person facilitating it, I said, I knew that they had a thing where they say, you create everything in your life. I said, well, let me give you an example. I said, there was one day where I had a client pay me a real big bucket of money because she had inherited some money. She wanted to set up something she had done a lot of clearings and hypnosis with me before. So she wanted to set up a 6-month thing, paying me 6 months in advance for hypnosis, energy clearings for her, for some family, for her business. I guess because she just wanted to really be committed to it. So the day I got that money, which was a big bucket of money to me, I had a hit and run car accident. Someone hit me. I had someone try to break into the Airbnb I was in. So I was traveling the same day. And I said, so how did I create that? And she didn't have an answer for me. This is a really popular big group out there making a lot of money.
Yeah.
She just
How
said,
did you create that? No, it's
yeah,
beings messing with you. That's what it is.
exactly. And she didn't have an answer for that. And she said, well, you'll find out as you go along in this program, because she didn't have an answer. So
Right.
I go ahead and finish the 5 days. I thought, I'm going to finish this. It was tough because it wasn't in our time zone. You know, it was overseas.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to bend all my clients and my stuff around it. And I'm tired and everything. And it never got to like an answer. And it's just, it went through the whole program of you create your life, you create your life. And, you know, you can't answer that. And what it is that I think when people have things going good in their life or going great, something's going to come along and try to knock you off. It's Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong. It's going to try to knock you off. Something in this world or something in the other reality, something in secret space programs. If they can keep us down and keep feeding off of us, that's what works. Us being happy and having a great life here.
Never.
Yeah, and I think what's hard is that we do see some people around us who seem to be, you know, thriving, doing well, but
Yeah, because they're probably agents of the Matrix.
yeah, and they could, yes, and they could be. And it's like for me, I've had to work, I've had to go upstream my whole life, you know, I had to paddle in the opposite direction my whole life, you know.
Yep.
So
Same with me. I can't work enough to like keep the roof over our head and pay these bills. Like I would be doing these videos like every single day. And I do want to be a little bit more committed, but I just work so much, it just sucks the life out of me. So I just real quick, I just want you to, I don't know if you can hear that, but
no, I can't hear any background.
well, so there's this really strange thing that's happening, and it happened on June the 28th, and I thought I was the only one, but there was millions of TikTok videos out there. Maybe I'm exaggerating by saying millions, but that around June 28th, all over the US, these people were recording where it sounds like there's fireworks outside their house. Like that
Oh,
boom, those sonic booms, like in the sky. It's coming from the sky. But then you go outside and there's no fireworks and no one's lighting fireworks. It's actually happening right now as we're recording this video.
really?
Now, I could be wrong. This could be fireworks because I didn't go outside and check. But on June the 28th at around 10 p.m., I did not record it because I thought, well, maybe it's idiots lighting fireworks, you know, but then I go outside and there's no fireworks and I'm looking and my neighbors aren't out and I'm thinking, well, this is really strange. What is this? And then I just blew it off and I went on this channel that I watch called Minutes of Horror. And here he has all these people talking about it all over. They heard the same thing. It's almost like there's a war going on in the sky. So it's gotten really strange here on
So you go
planet Earth.
outside. So you go outside because it is close to 4th of July. Maybe
Yeah.
people shoot
Now
off
this
stuff.
could very well be fireworks, but there was definitely nothing on the 28th because I went out there and I'm looking all over and it's just,
So you're still hearing it as you're
yeah,
outside.
oh yeah, I'm hearing it right now. No, I'm hearing
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
happening right now, but that could very well, it could be fireworks because that's kind of what it sounded like the other night too. But I
You
walked all
know,
over and didn't see anything.
yeah. So it seems like, and I mean, what's the name of the channel? Men of Horror?
Oh, it's called Minutes of Horror.
Okay. Okay.
You have to watch. This guy compiles a bunch of different videos and he speaks throughout it, and it's around 20 minutes. And he's like my news because he talks about what people are reporting all over and what they're seeing in the sky, what's going on with the world. Like it's really, really good. He's actually from South Jersey originally, but he lives in Florida now, the guy. But it's called Minutes of Horror. And he also has another backup channel called Seconds of Horror. But he's great. He like cracks up laughing in the middle of filming, like, and he'll say like funny stuff, and it's a good channel. It's really good. But
Well, there's somebody, I'd have to look up the channel. It's like Mr. BBB 333 or something that talks about the sky. Um, yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear it. I live kind of downtown in Houston now. There's a few million people down here. It's kind of crazy. There's just traffic and people like all around me. So I don't think
well, it's
I
the
don't know
same
if I
thing with
hear anything.
me.
Huh?
I'm in a big city, I live in a big city. So at first I didn't think anything, even when I didn't see anything, I didn't think, right? But then um when I saw people recording from all over, not only in big cities, but like in quiet middle of nowhere places too, hearing that same sound where you think it's fireworks and you go outside and there's nothing.
Well, especially if you're hearing it on that same day, you
It
know.
was the
Uh,
same exact time and the same time of day. Someone in Pennsylvania, someone I think maybe it was at Alabama, but anyway, there was like three or four different. I'll send you the video.
I mean, there
Um,
could very well be some sort of fight going on in the sky with ETs, and the US could be involved and we're not told because we're supposed to be the dumb people who we can't handle it yet. It's like, really? I'm a freaking adult, I'm
I
smart enough
know.
to handle whatever, you know. So, oh, we have to do slow disclosures. Like, why are we treated like children and we're
Oh,
just
it's
used, you
such
know?
bullshit.
Yeah.
Listen, rip the band-aid off. That's how I feel. And I'm like, I don't sugarcoat anything, I don't. And anybody who watches my channel knows sugarcoat. I just, and then, I get people call me a fear monger, this and that. I'm like, no, I'm just a realist. Um, so before my next topic, um, tell the people about your two books that you have, and we're going to go on to your first book that I did read, which was the Twin Flame book, because I want to go on to our next topic.
Yeah, I'll hold them both up because I paid someone to do the cover and I want some similarities with the cover, with the colors and everything. But yeah, this is the Trapped in the Secret Space programs. And I kept going back to this image of this person. And I was like, why do I keep going back to this? You probably can't see it very well here, but I thought she looks like a clone. And I had some alterations done to the picture and
Yeah.
everything. And
Oh, it looks
because
great.
I thought, well, her eyeglasses, you can remove them, so she's not really like a clone. And yeah, there's I don't even want to say the word, the
And
HITL.
I believe it's Amazon, right? You can get the book at.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon. You can get a hardcover, or you can get
And where else?
the other two. What's it called? Kindle. Yeah, I just have it on Amazon.
Okay.
But anyway, I kept going back to that picture and I'd already written the book. I'm trying to finish all these little stories that are in it. And then a story about her came to me and just hit me like hard. And I realized, like, oh, okay, her glasses are removable because she's someone, she can take all this off and she can take this gun off. This is a gun on her arm. She can take it off and her arm is still there. Whereas a lot of clones are going to cut off your arm and they're going to attach something there. So she can
Right.
take the glasses off, which enhances her eyes, and she can take the gun off and she just can be a honeypot. Then she can look like a regular person.
Right.
Yeah, so that was the story behind, why she looked like that. Because I thought, man, I really want to use this image, but she has these glasses that you can remove. It's not like they changed out her eye with something permanent. I'm like, why can I not let this image go? And then the whole story came to me, like she's a honeypot. She's a killer and she's
Well,
a
you're
honeypot.
you're responsible for me realizing that I was in a honeypot situation. I mean, I kind of knew because I did have some of those, like I said, my dream memories that I remembered, like being in situations with men and like just like and I that freaked me out. And so I was like, well, they did this to me. I need to calm down. And it's so crazy because I was talking to the person who originally told me that I was with her in these programs, and I never said a word to her about remembering the honeypot stuff. And she literally, like verbatim, and the way she did that, just like I remembered, and she said it. We were on FaceTime, and I was at the Journey to Truth conference. This was like a couple years ago, and I was like, "Yeah, it's real. It's real. It happened." Like once she said that, everything clicked, and then I did the QHHT session with you, and I, you know, it can't, I had some memories of whatever I was able to bring up with that, and so it did put a
Yeah,
lot of pieces.
they can't really erase your memory. They call it, like mind wiping. It's just the memories are just put in another place. We've got to move these screens and move these blocks out of the way because the memories are still there, you
Yeah,
know.
how is it put? They don't erase your memory. They take away your ability to access certain memories.
Yeah, I feel like they're just hiding it
They
away. And
hide it, right?
yeah, and when you're dreaming, they put it. I can't remember what someone called it, but it made sense. They'll put these artificial screen memories up there in front of it. Like sometimes I can wake up and I have just kind of an okay dream, but I have to just lay there for a moment. I'm like, oh, okay, here's the truth behind it. Here's what
Yeah,
really
yeah,
happened,
yeah.
you know. So
Yeah, I still cannot, no matter how much affirmations I do or whatever, I still am not able to get my, I call it my little alien love bite out of out of my dreams. I cannot keep him out of my dreams. That's definitely fireworks. That is too close and is not quite the sound. That's fireworks. So
and it can be confusing when there's something like that. Like it's this time of the year, you may hear something, but you knew on June 28th that wasn't what it was. And you see
yeah,
all these people online saying the same thing. So
yeah,
obviously it's
yeah. Now that's fireworks. I can tell. But because the sound sounded so similar at first, I was like, oh no, it's happening again. But yeah, so I cannot keep him out of my dreams. And that is literally the last and only thing that still bothers me, that he still haunts my dreams. And there's nothing that I seem to be able to do so far, thus far, to get rid of that one thing. And so let's go on to the next topic. And like I said, I watched a video today with Tony Sayers and talking about this, and I think they set these relationships up. It's another way to target us. They set these relationships up for us.
I think Tony didn't say it. He probably just came out of another crap relationship where
He
someone
did.
was
Oh, he
taking
definitely
over.
did. He
Yeah.
definitely did. He didn't say, he said, I don't want to say because it's personal, but I knew exactly what, you know.
It's hard. It's like I've been away from mine. That's my other book where, I found this nice picture. They're in bed. She's turned away. I had this reptilian, like this reptile tattoo put on him. I had the time put on here, which is 1111, because that's a big thing in the community of twin flames and the spiritual community. Um, it's like they know how to suck you in. It doesn't matter if you're spiritually advanced. It's like sometimes it just takes over. And in my book, I called it a light switch, where the switch just goes on and
Yeah.
you're like,
Well, why? It's because we need that connection.
yeah,
And I'm gonna tell you, and I know that, like, because I read your book, what there's like a pull to them like nothing ever before.
yeah.
There's just this, what the hell is this?
Mhm.
You know?
I tried to tell a friend of mine last night that I saw, and he was complaining about a woman that he's with. And I said, the last time I was so like into someone like that. It was like an obsession. And I said, I had never felt like that about anyone else. So I felt like this is what they say, oh, the divine relationship, this is the person. And it's not a false twin flame. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that thing. It was
Neither do
like,
I.
yeah, it was like, I'm supposed to be with this person. It feels wonderful. It feels great. And there's all the love bombing and everything.
Yep.
Anybody else that I had had a crappy relationship like that one, I could walk away. And I'm not saying it was easy. It could be painful, of course, but I could walk away. I could not walk away from this guy. What did I say in my book? Like, I met him in 2010 and I just left him 2 years ago. And so what is that, like 12, 13 years?
Wow.
We did have 2 years where we didn't talk at all.
Yeah, I had that too
Yeah.
in between.
But I
Not
ran
2 years. I had like 8 months, and I think another time maybe 6 months in
Yeah,
between. But
yeah, I had a 6 month thing too, but during that 2 years, I was feeling completely free. I was dating a lot. I was taking dance lessons for years and years, even when I was with him, of like waltz and two step and all that
mhm,
stuff.
nice.
And West Coast, I was taking the country stuff like Texas, but also West Coast and waltz. And so I was meeting a lot of people and getting asked out on dates. And when I ran into him, I literally just ran into him somewhere and the light switch was back on. It just all came flooding back. Like, I've got to have this person now. Isn't that crazy? Like,
Yeah, it
I,
is.
it's, it's out of our control. And
Yeah,
I
I think it's the cortisol addiction too, but I also think something else is going on a spiritual level.
There is something. I feel like there is something. It's like a love bite. I didn't call it love bite in my book because I guess
Yeah,
he had
that's kind of
Lorgren stuff with him.
Evie Lorgan's, did I say
Yeah, I
that
didn't.
name right?
Yeah, I didn't want to take Eve or Evie Lorgan's word. I thought, well, I could reach out to her and refer to her in the book, um, but I think it's brought on by. I think she's right. I think there's ETs out there put us in it, and they're observing us, and you
Well,
know,
that's what Tony was saying today about how like they wear human skin, and that's really that's it. That's the extent of it. They're some kind of, he called it a demon. I just learned not to name. I've gotten into, from listening to Nathaniel Gillis's work, um, about what these beings are. The aliens, are they demons? Are they, is not to call them anything. I kind of stopped trying to get away from doing that. But I mean, I watched his eyes go black, and crazy stuff. Like, and
Um, oh, with your twin? Yeah, I had that with
yeah,
mine too. And I mean, even
yeah,
on these videos, my eyes look black, but they're actually green and hazel-y. But yeah, I've seen his eyes go black when he's talking to me. I'm seeing him kind of hunched over, like looking more like a lizard standing upright. Where I remember looking at him one day thinking, you look like a lizard.
yeah. Well, that's what I got. I got reptilian. When I did my interview with on Journey to Truth about it, I said reptilian soul. But man, I think it's even deeper than that. Like, I just remember him, like, it's like you said, it's like a switch, right?
Yeah.
Us like sitting and laughing and playing a game, and there's alcohol involved, and there's a snowstorm, and but when it wasn't the fact that his eyes turned black, that was one thing. It was what went along with the black eyes. It's almost like the black eyed kids, right? People have those black eyed kids encounters. The whole room filled up with paralyzing fear. And I never felt that scared. So I think like the mask came completely off, which is why the eyes turned black. It just completely off. And when he looked back at me from in that mirror, and then my legs buckled and I couldn't stand up anymore. And I was holding on to the railing to try to walk back down the steps because it was terrifying. And I felt like a person would feel if they're like in the house with the serial killer, but they suddenly just realized it, and they still got to walk out the front door or run out the front door. And that's how I felt. And so I think his, I was reading him at the same time, and I think he was confused because I don't think he had realized that the mask had slipped that far. He thought he was going to get sadness by throwing me out in a snowstorm, but what he got was fear instead. And I think that was very confusing for him, and it threw him off long enough for me to get out the door. He was trying to say, take the subway home, and he was throwing money at me like coins. And I had already called my girlfriend, and she sent an Uber, and some guy in the middle of the snowstorm had like 3 feet of snow on the ground, Uber. And I ran out, and I remember I jumped over a mountain of snow, ran in the car, jumped in, and then I said to the Uber driver, I'm going to cry now. And he said, okay. And that was it. Terrifying. And you know what happened? I went back with them a few days later.
Well, I would do that too. I would go back to mine. And like I said, I had never put up with crap like that before. I had dated a couple of people who seemed nutty, who seemed
Yeah.
abusive in some way, but I left them, or we just didn't get along. And yeah, mine, I mean, from the book, twice he threatened to hit me. And it was weird how he said the exact same statement, like both times within like months of each other. Like, is it just some program? He's running from his reptilian mind. And
Yeah.
I thought, how did I stay with this crazy person? Because if someone threatened that today, I would either walk out or I'd probably beat the crap out of them
Yeah.
before they
And
could do
then you have
anything.
these people, some people who are so really aware, like, what is going on? What are you doing with this person? And you just look at them like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, they
I
don't get
mean,
that whole.
in the beginning, anyway, not
Yeah.
toward the end, but yeah.
Yeah, I think with the eyes changing, I wonder if energetically, like they're like reptilians or whatever they are, or Tony calls demons, or I feel like it's a reptilian energy, but they're in a physical human body, but they can't hardly hold the human body. So their eyes change, the way they're standing, the way they're acting, like they can't even hardly just hold that physical body and look normal.
Yeah, and I also think us being who we are, we're able to see it more than other people, even though we're the ones that are staying in the relationship with them.
Yeah.
And I remember a girl from Tony's group, and I'm not going to say her name because that would be, I don't have permission to talk about her, but she was involved with someone similar situation. But she said he was more like an alien gray underneath the suit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think you can't really understand it unless you're in it. I mean, I felt like, for years in the beginning, I thought, well, it's just, he's mirroring me, he's reflecting back, whatever, I'm supposed to clear. That's what people say, but the relationship just got worse and worse. And people like, I'll go ahead and say their names because Netflix, I guess, is the one who wrote the special
Oh,
about
yeah.
Jeff and Shalea from, what is it, Twin Flame Universe?
Oh, goodness. That was awful.
Years before that special came out, there was a time where Jeff went on. I would watch them occasionally. There was a time where Jeff went on and said, I've been guided to charge $1,000 for my session, but for the next week, I'm going to charge 100 or 120, something like that. I thought, hey, $120, I can spare that. Not a big deal. I'm going to try this. Like, I'm just going to, and I was 30 years into my twin flame thing. I thought, hey, I'll just try it for $100, $120. And it was just weird, and then like a year or two later, because they've got videos on there for years, I started noticing, I thought, man, Jeff just looks dark as hell. I mean, just looking at his face on the thumbnail, I'm like, man, there's something dark there. And here it is, it comes out. There's a 3-part Netflix video or
Yep.
something, and he's how can he deny it? Like, he's back now where he's saying, oh, none of that's true. It's like, if you watch that, you see him yelling at people and saying
Yeah.
crazy things. Like, how can you deny it? You know?
I couldn't watch it because I was so emotionally triggered from it, that what he did to people, that I literally couldn't even watch it.
I had a hard time watching it, I think because I was in it, like,
Yeah.
not in it with them. I only had that one session with them, but since I was in it for so many years, where I feel like kind of like I lost 10 years of my life, where there I was trying to run my business, trying to like just be more and more spiritual, and this person just pushing me down. Like, here I am trying to go, I'm being pushed down, pushed down for so many years by
Yep.
this person, who out in the community is like, oh, that's the divine relationship. It's supposed to be hard. And
And
it's like,
that
well,
was the same thing with me. My whole life was falling apart, but all I cared about was being with him.
yeah, yeah. I feel bad. There's still so many people out there who are caught up in it, because a relationship should be good in the beginning, and it should be, good overall, but it shouldn't be a big trauma in the beginning. It shouldn't be a big trauma anytime, but in the beginning, it
Mhm.
should be really great.
Well, yeah, I think like for the first 6 months, it was nothing but love bombing. And then, boom, you get knocked off that pedestal. And then it's just the highs and lows, constant highs and lows. And I had a weird thing happen where I heard like something speaking to me. Um, I think probably my whatever version of, I don't like to use higher self because of whatever, for whatever reason anymore. But I guess that's what I had something speak to me, and it started there. Like the first thing that I heard was, don't let them near the kids, which I thought was so odd because we dated. I met my ex, had 2 kids with him. Then he's known my kids since my younger kids anyway, and even my older one since they were, babies. And I mean, he was there when they were born because he was in my life as my friend too. And so, why is it saying to me, don't let them near the kids? And then the second thing was cluster B personality disorder. And I said, what? And it said, remember from your college days. And so I went and I started looking it up, and then it went from there. And when I had full knowledge of what I was dealing with, which I think you deal with it on an everyday level, on a fundamental level, like I was a psych major, and okay, I'd never really grasped what true narcissism really was. But also, there's this spiritual level of it, and I'm very spiritual at the time. And I was way into the new age back then. And so it was very easy for him to manipulate me. And he could pretend that he was into the same things. And then it kind of went from there. But oh my goodness, once I fully grasped what was happening and I was starting to heal my own trauma while I was still in the relationship, I believe that that's what saved me. That's what got me out, because I was healing myself. And, and, I didn't rip the band-aid off and jump out of the relationship. I think it would have been too traumatizing. And I had studied this morning, noon, and night. I wasn't working at the time. My kids were still young, and I was like, I think this is the way to go. When you go off a drug, you wean yourself off, right? So why not do this with him? And so that's what I did. And that's what saved me. And then toward the end, it was just little things that got me completely out. And yeah, so
I was gonna say, and I had this, I kind of wrote down a couple things to say as we were talking, with you talking about the personality disorder. I had this written down to say that I just recently, I mean, this was just within the last week. I've had started using Chat GPT a little bit a couple weeks ago, and within the last week, I thought I'm going to put these friendships in here that are friendships with three men. Like two of them I used to date, we're just friends. The other one I never dated, we're friends. Because I thought they have some similarities to this freaking twin flame, this love bite. And I thought, why am I friends with them? Because it just feels off and I just feel bad after I see them. So you mentioning the whatever personality disorder, like I actually put in Chat GPT, I think it's called DSM something. It's the thing,
Yeah,
the
the
book.
Diagnostic Statistical
Yeah.
Manual, the DSM.
I told Chat GPT because a friend of mine said you have to teach it. You have to tell it what to refer to. Because I had to tell it, don't refer to Wikipedia. Anybody can put stuff on there. I said use that DSM
Yeah.
and use any peer reviewed, current, reputable stuff. And I said, I want you to diagnose these people. I know you're not diagnosing it for anything besides me. I want to diagnose to, break free of these friendships. And all three of them were covert narcissists.
Yeah, there you go. See?
Yeah, and other stuff. There was other stuff, and I was trying to put in like facts, like facts that happened, not just he said, she said. I would try to put in like they said this exactly, they did this exactly. Well, then after all of that, because I thought, well, this helps me to break away because like I don't owe them anything. These are friends. I shouldn't go see a friend and I feel drained and I feel off and I feel bad about myself when I leave. So then I took my whole book. I'm like, plunk, here's my book of the twin flames. I put the twin flame book in there. And man, it just tore him apart. It was covert narcissist, some other kind, because there's different kinds of narcissists and all this stuff, and abuser. And, it's like, but I've been away from him for 2 years. But I'm still was with friendships bringing in a little bit of that kind of attitude. And I thought, I'm not even taking this crap with friends. If the friends,
No, you should not.
yeah, if I'm not feeling really good, after I leave friends, because I thought this is nice having man friends because they're just friends. It's kind of nice having that different energy. But then I thought, I feel off when I see these men. They're all different, but they're different in weird, negative
Please.
ways.
Yeah.
Oh, and I feel drained afterwards. So I think that Chat GPT is maybe a good idea for some people to use if they're feeling like I feel off and I just feel like a lower energy or something.
Yeah.
Why not go in there and put in something like the DSM and put in some facts? Because I did it with my cousin as well, female cousin. It was not just men. And
Oh, no, it's not.
yeah.
No, it's
So
not.
it's similar. I'm not trying to man bash. So it's similar. It just depends on the personality. So
Well, that's how I also figured out my mother was a malignant borderline, also a cluster B personality disorder. And I had her in the narcissist category, but the more and again, I was a psych major. I should have known all this already, but you don't understand it unless you are in it. The same thing with psychologists who treat men and women who are victims of this. They don't have a fucking clue unless they were already in it. And
yeah,
they
yeah.
just
But if
don't.
you're in, yeah, but if you're in it, like you're going through it, so you could be like, okay, now that I'm out of it, I understand it. But while you're in it, I feel like it's hard for me to see it clearly because I'm just in it. It's going on around me, and there's some good in the relationships too. Like even the men who are friends of mine,
Absolutely. I call it throwing you crumbs. They throw you your little crumbs,
Yeah,
and like, oh, let me take you out for your birthday and wine and candlelight and the whole, but it's just they feel you pulling away and they need to pull you back in. And um, yeah, it was really, really an insane thing, as you well know,
mhm.
to be in that relationship. And I do think that those relationships are set up before we're even incarnate here, before we're born, to throw us off our game and to throw us off our path because they don't want people like us to talk about the stuff that we talk about. And it definitely, but I came back even stronger. So they did me a favor. That's how I
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah, I mean, some people think it's there to wake us up. I mean, I feel like it was there to throw me off my track because it was there the whole time I was getting my business going. And I've only had 2 years with my business where I haven't had him around in my life. It's just like I've had 2 years without him in my life, and it's been so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been 7 years for me. I think it might even be 8. Let's see. I think it was either 2017 or 2018. I can't even remember now. That was the last contact. And as you well know, he ended up marrying one of my best friends who left her husband for him. And miraculously, they're still married. Um, so it's just really funny. And I think that the narcissistic model, they don't do, and he would even say this to me, admittedly, they don't do any one thing for only one reason. They always have a whole list of reasons why they do something and why they act a certain way. And that is why to stay in a relationship with them is madness. Because even if you know what they are and you think you have it all figured out, you are never going to get by in that relationship without going insane because they're fucking psychopaths and you're not.
I
So
feel like they're masterminds. It's
they
like because
really
I
are.
would.
Oh, mine's was super intelligent too, and I know yours was. Go ahead.
It's like I would be there like, what just happened? Like why? Because some of the things are like little subtle things that they
Yep.
do. So, but I mean, I think luckily mine had enough complete insanity where he threatened to hit me, and stuff like that I could back away. And I had to literally ghost him. I had to just block him on everything and just ghost him.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the only way.
because otherwise I would have had yet another yelling fight that would just, he could have days where he just starts yelling at me and I would think, what's wrong? Like nothing has happened. And if I engaged at all and tried to talk back to whatever, it would get even worse. So I would generally just stand there and just freaking take it.
Did you ever hear of a guy named H.G. Tudor?
No.
Okay. So my here's my theory with this guy. He's a self-proclaimed psychopathic narcissist, like highly intelligent. And long story short, he had one of his women who he puts people in categories, and this was a super empath. And this woman that one of the women that he was dating, he and this guy was married and had kids and everything. She like figured out what he was while they were in the relationship, and he had nowhere to go because he was so smart that there was everything she was saying to him made perfect sense. And no matter how much he denied it or how much of a horrible, because a narcissistic injury is like hell for them, how bad it was once she broke up with him, and he even had time to think about he that was how he figured out what he was. And his mother was going to disinherit him if he didn't go get therapy. Keep in mind his mother was also a malignant narcissist, but if he didn't go to therapy, he was not going to get his inheritance. So because narcissists don't stay in therapy, and he did, but he at that point he had already known what he was because of this girl. And so I don't know how it happened. He never shows his face. He has these whole pieces that he does on like Meghan Markle, and like he does like famous celebrities and which ones are narcissists and stuff like that. But anyway, I counseled with him because he offered counseling. because he didn't hold back. He told you exactly what you were dealing with. And so my last interaction with John was after my session with this guy. He basically told me exactly, like, he just confirmed what I already knew. And he even said to me, "Why are you even having this session with me?" He said, "You, by far, out of anyone I've ever counseled, have the deepest understanding of exactly what we are. And so why are we even doing this?" I mean, he actually said it to me, and he was like, you know, "And you're definitely what I like to call a super empath." And he said, you know, "You can go back into this relationship and tiptoe around if you wanted to." He said, "But it's just he's always going to tear you down. And why would you want to?" And so there was that. And then I spoke to him via email, John, one more time, because the only contact we had at that point was email. And then my friend, he was threatening to kill himself. John was. And my friend, um, Mariano, called me up and said, "It's bullshit. He's not going to kill himself. We already know this." Because he was friends with him too and stopped being friends with him because of the whole thing with me. And just he finally saw him for what he was as well. And he goes, "Listen," he started talking about chess, and he goes, telling me all this stuff about chess. And he's like, "You deserve to be somebody's queen, not their pawn." And as crazy as this is going to sound, that was the last connection that broke off because something stuck in my head subconsciously when he said that to me. And that was it. That was my last. And again, I'm so sorry for being long winded.
Oh, no, I like this. It's like we're having a conversation instead of on your channel and you're asking me. Were you thinking about going on back with him? Because you said that he said to you something like, well, you could go back to him,
He
but he
did. He said, "Well, you're just going to be a shelf toy now." Because
yeah.
I explained the situation to him, what I thought was happening, and he confirmed it for me. So what he was doing was at that time, yet another marriage that he broke up. There was a girl, Nikki. She was young, early 30s. I was in my late 40s at the time, and oh no, I might have even have been like closer to 50. And he was 3 years older than me. This girl was young, and he was deciding whether to go back with me, but he was also, because they do that thing where if they're getting rid of one woman, they're courting another. So he was doing this back and forth thing with her and I. And she was crank calling me. I mean, it was awful. And I knew that he was playing this game between the two of us. And I believe that I told him, "I'm not really sure what's happening with this young girl, but I'm almost 100% sure that he's involved with her and he's deciding which one of us either is going to go back with me or he's going to mess around with this girl." And it ended up that I made it easier for him because I just cut things off, and then he didn't have to play the game. But what he did was, she ended up leaving her. She may have not been married, but she lived with a guy, fiance. She left her fiance and her whole life and a house that they bought together and everything, her pets, and moved in with him. So, yeah. And then from there, he was with her for a couple years, and then he ended up with one, like I said, one of my best friends. And that's a whole nother story because he couldn't manipulate me personally anymore because I wouldn't have anything to do with him. He was using her because I do home health care, and I was caring for her grandfather, and I was friends with her mom, and she was still with her husband. And so she was sleeping with him behind her husband's back, and she was manipulating me um, through him, but she was using the power that she had over her mother with me with my job. So
So
she,
he's still affecting you. He was still
so he
affecting.
was still affecting me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And so when I found out that they were seeing each other and that she left Michael and moved in with him, I was like, everything fell into place. Everything made sense. Because for that, like, however many months that she got weird with me, like, this was my friend. This was someone I talked to every day. And she knew what he did to me. She knew everything about my relationship. And this whole time, he was able to get in her ear, tell her that I'm the narcissist. This is what her mother told me. And that, and she left her husband and she ended up getting a divorce, marrying him. And, you know, like I said, they're still together. They deserve each other. But he was manipulating me. So when I say I've been done with him since 2017 or 2018, wherever the fuck it was, really, I wasn't. This went on all the way into 2020 because he was using her to get to me.
Yeah, it's a crazy relationship that people don't, they don't understand how nutty it can go like that. Like him, attaching with your friend and then it affects you and that affects your work, you know.
Yep.
So I actually was thinking about how I saw mine cut someone off on the highway and our SUV that we were in, he just drives it off the highway and so does the guy that they cut each other off and he just starts beating on the guy. I mean, this is someone who, he's in his late 40s or early 50s or so and he's like gets out and just starts beating on some guy like, okay, you're an adult obviously. And then he comes to luckily, like he parked where I'm in the passenger seat. He parked where I don't see what's going on. He goes behind me and him and the guy start beating each other. And I've thought back to it where I've thought, well, I wish I'd turned around and looked. But I just couldn't even watch like what's going on. And so then he goes to get back in the car. I had moved in the driver's seat because I thought, I'm not driving with you in this state. I've already been fearful of my life. You going down the highway with each of you, passing each other fast. And so he just gets in the passenger seat and he's like, oh my gosh, I feel so alive now or something. It was weird as hell. And then the next day he just shows up at my house during the day, like he can just come over. And he said, and we weren't even dating at that time. We were just friends. We had dated, broken up, spent time where we're just, being friends. He shows up and said, oh my gosh, I feel so bad about what happened. He had bruises. He had a black eye and a bruise up on his forehead. And he said, gosh, I feel so stupid. So he was off that high because when
Yeah.
he did it the day before, he was feeling like a high from it. And he's like, oh, I feel so stupid. And he said, I told my son that I got into a mountain bike riding accident. I thought, man, this is crazy how he was able to come up with some excuse.
Right.
Again, what a freaking mastermind. I wouldn't know what to say, to people. If I suddenly had bruises on my face, I literally wouldn't think of explaining it away. But anyway, a year or two later, he accused me of telling his son what happened. He said, well, I know you told him what happened. I was like, I didn't tell anybody what he said. I know you told him and you told your daughter what happened. I'm like, I didn't tell anybody what happened. I thought I would be embarrassed to tell anybody that I'm with you. And at that time, years later, I was back to dating him. Like, I would be embarrassed to tell anybody I'm dating somebody who's late 40s, early 50s, and he's freaking beating someone on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but when I ghosted him and it was over between him and I started telling my daughter stuff like that. I said, I can't believe I was with this person because I want her to know, like, don't be with someone like this. you know, I want
Yeah.
I wanted people to know and writing the book, like this is how far down the rabbit hole of being stuck, being controlled and manipulated by these people. This is how far you can go.
Yeah. And it's like, we've all been in relationships prior and even one after, that were, on the more serious side, and like, it never ends like those relationships end, and you always go back, like, what the hell is it with those kinds of relationships? And you could go on the physical side and say, oh, it's the cortisol, you're addicted to cortisol. Oh, it's whatever, your addiction to your trauma matches their trauma, and I think it's like all of the above. But I think mainly those relationships are karmic, in not karmic, because I don't believe in karma. I think these beings that control this matrix invented karma, but it's more of a, like, they write your blueprint, they write your code, and so they can write that relationship into your, and that's why you're so stuck to it too, because they want to throw you off your game for whatever it is you're going to do in the future. Maybe you're a voice for some of the stuff that we talk about, that we put out there, that a lot of people want to poo poo, and you know slide down the rainbow on a unicorn and say that, oh, it's just, it's a school, and I don't believe any of that, and I think that anybody that talks to the contrary will definitely get thrown off their game in one way or another. I mean, that's not only in relationships, which we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I think it's to throw us off our game when we're, spiritual people trying to talk to people in the world about some of this, and also to feed off our energy. Because I know for me, I never, put up with this kind of crap from people. I had a funny thing with a chiropractor I dated. I dated him for over 3 years, and when him and I broke up, it was hard to break up. It was painful. He had a child that I became close to, his little girl. My daughter played with her. I felt sad about that, a possible sister for my kid. My kid's an only child. And we broke up. And like I said, it wasn't easy, but I thought, I got to, end this. And when we broke up, it was so nice because he was angry with me as well. And he left this phone message saying, if you don't call me tonight, we're done. And I thought, is that easy? Like, it's that easy. Like, I don't even have to break up with you. I was so happy that
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with that. I thought all I have to do is not freaking call him back.
Right.
And so I just didn't call him back. And like a few years later, he was a chiropractor. I had gone to see him like over and over through the years. That was actually how I'd met him. And I wanted my records. And he's like, well, I have to get them out of storage, and that'll take me a while. And he said, and I am married, I have moved on. And I thought, and I just literally started laughing out loud to myself at home alone, because I thought, really, you think I want you back? You think that's the
Right,
reason?
right, right, exactly.
Like, I 100% had no interest in him, and I just wanted my records.
Yeah.
So, that was just funny. And when I went online, one day I went online, I thought, I just want to like see what he's up to. Is he even still in business? Because he's 10 years older than me. I thought maybe he's retired by now, because he was always talking about his money, all his money that he wouldn't spend. And he had a picture of his wife on there. And I remember before we broke up, she had started working there. So I think maybe he was even cheating. But he had a picture of his wife, and she's really beautiful, and she looked a little younger than me, but she looked kind of like me. And I thought, this is kind of weird. Like, you married someone who kind of looks like me.
Yeah.
But she looked better. She looked better. She was beautiful. She was younger. And she had this sad look on her face. And I thought, man, this is supposed to be a good picture of her on your website, but she looks sad. And I thought, that's probably, she's sad because of you. That's what you bring
Yeah.
in. You cause this sadness.
Yep.
Because he was manipulative and controlling and all this. But it was so funny that he thought that maybe I wanted to get back to him. And the thing with him and anybody else from the past, I could care less about getting back with. I move on and I don't even really think about him, you know? I'm just happy to be away from him. But
Yeah.
with the twin flame, it's not like that. It was like I would miss him when we broke up. Not the last 2 years. I'm like the door's closed, but I would miss him and I would think about him. I would long for him. You know, it was very painful during that 2 years that we were apart, years and years ago when we were apart for a couple of years. It was really hard. For the first year, and then the second year I started to recover and move on. And then when I ran into him, like boom, switch is on. Gotta have him,
Yeah.
gotta have him. So
Yep. Well, I ran into mine and I was with, I went to meet my cousin Jim in this bar that I would frequent with him, with, you know, the alien. Let's just call him the alien. And I was talking to my cousin, and it was so weird because he goes up and hugs my cousin because apparently they went to high school together. And I'm standing like, my cousin turns his back to me, and to hug him, and he goes like this, and I turned my back to my cousin because I didn't want to look at him because his face was like right there, and he went like this and took his hand and put it on my back, and I'm thinking, you really thought that was going to work, like to get my attention? You put your handprint on my back? Are you kidding me? And I just like, shrugged him off and get the fuck away from me. And I like walked away, and I'm like, like he still thinks, because at that point I was definitely, but it took a long time to get there. I mean, it was really hard. And
but
I know what you mean.
you know, I think that I think some of these meetings are instigated as part of that energy to try to pull you back together.
For
Because
sure.
I would run into mine, and here I am, like I said, there's a few million people around me. Okay. This is not a town of a few hundred people. There's a few million people here. And I would literally run into him, and I would run into him sometimes at really weird places. Like
Same thing was happening to me. It's almost like you have this psychic connection,
Mhm.
and wherever you go, it's like they have that antenna up, and they know where you are.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like you can't explain it. But in the twin flame community, if you believe in all this, like, oh, it's meant to be. You're even running into each other in weird places. It's like, no, these reptilians or whatever they are, they're going to their food. He was coming to his food, which was me.
Yeah. And it is their food because they need that to survive. They need that energy. Um, well, this is my only thing is, the invasion of my dreams. And sometimes the dreams have both of them in it, him and his wife, where they're both, I had one dream where they were holding me down and pushing my face down in snow and throwing snow on top of me and like trying to bury me alive. I've had so many dreams like that where the two of them are attacking me. And then this is what creeps me out the most. I have dreams of him still where nothing has happened. Like we're not angry at each other. We're just totally normal and talking. And those dreams, when I wake up, I'm screaming because I'm like, no, I'm not cool with you. We're not friends. I'm not talking nice to you. Like, I'm not, it's just the most bizarre thing. And it freaks me out because it makes me feel like I'm not in control. And people are like, well, it's just a dream. It's just your subconscious. I'm like, maybe, maybe, but I don't feel like it is. I think it's more than that.
Yeah. I was dreaming about mine when I was with him. I don't dream about him since then, but I have had a dream lately, which was really weird. I had a dream that he was a clone. He was a clone of mine that was given to me. So he was like my little pet.
Yeah.
He was there, he was, where the clone looked like him. It had a little bit of his consciousness, and I could just say stuff like to him like, well, when we were together, you were doing this and this and this. And so he didn't have that personality where if I complained about anything to him when we were together, it could be a big fight where he's just yelling and screaming at me. But the clone was just like, okay, okay, just going along with it. Now, isn't that weird? It was like, there I am with a clone. I know it's a clone. It looks like him, and it's got a little bit of his consciousness. And in the dream, it was like it was a gift to me. It was given to me as a gift. And I think maybe that was part of the
Wow.
programs, like, hey, you've done this for us, here's your gift. it was
Wow, that's crazy.
it was weird, and he was just very submissive, like, okay, okay, like, so.
We definitely have to have Susan on with the three of us because she's went through the same exact thing where her trauma twin or whatever you want to call it in the programs, she he was the one that where she that's how she remembered everything from the programs from being with him or seeing him again. She didn't even remember who, but then when all her memories came back at once, and then she was with him for real, like in the now, and she said it was like a total, like, alien love bite thing, and it was really ugly, and she, she got rid of him and threw his ass out, and she moved to Iowa because of him, and she's still there. But she's doing her thing, and so I wanted to have her on as well because that's the three things that we have in common, like the three of us, the narcissism thing, and the programs, and so you know, but um, I have to. I know she's like really busy, and she does like sessions and stuff, and she makes these like healing bombs and all. But so maybe um I can get with her and we can all do this together. But anyway, really, really, really crazy stuff. The narcissist thing was probably by far my craziest experience here on Earth. And that includes even even worse, if you can believe it, than losing my boyfriend at 18 to murder and have being pregnant and going through that hell. Um, the whole narcissist, you know, web and that whole situation was actually worse and traumatized me even more. Um, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think this probably traumatized me more than anything else too. And yeah, in the whole scheme of things, there should have been other things that look worse that should traumatize me more. But it's like no, because it's like being in a prison, like just being a slave to these people. To me, is how it was for me. So
Yeah, it's an energy slave,
mm,
right? Because that's what we are as a whole, being here, right, for these beings. But then we also are little energy slaves to these sicko relationships that I think these beings set up. I really believe that. I think they set it up before we even, get here.
yeah, I think so too. We could even talk about that another time if you want about the soul, capturing
Yeah.
souls, reincarnation.
Contracts, yeah.
Yeah, the reincarnation trap. I mean, that's my next book that I have a bunch of stuff for that I've been
Oh, awesome.
writing is the soul trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been saying I wanted to do one too. Um, about just all the information that I've gathered about it and whatever research and why I came to those conclusions and stuff like that. But yeah, time is the problem. But well, we should probably wrap it up, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna try and eat something and take my dog out probably one more time. So
Okay. Well, we definitely went right on and got into this and roughed it. So I like doing these videos like this. I'm not a big editor, and you know, I'm just trying to, you know, someone's coming in my door. So
Well, thanks for having me on. It was nice, chatting. I don't talk about this stuff much with everybody, so.
Oh, thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And again, s- tell them where they can find you if they want a QHHT session, which I highly recommend, and also um, the name of your books again, if you want to hold
Oh,
those
yeah,
up.
they're on Amazon. So I think if they look up my name, Angie Maxfield, they find them. So the
There you go.
Twin Flame Hell and Trapped in the Secret Space program. Yeah, so Maxfield. Yeah, my website, I could give it to you for the description too. Future Life
Okay.
Today. Future
Yeah,
Life
we'll put the
Today.
link in the description. All right. Thank you.
So thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye.
Bye.